On the last leg of his three-nation 10-day visit abroad, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Fiji, where he was received by Fiji Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama. He was among the first foreign leaders to congratulate Prime Minister Modi after assuming charge. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Fiji came after 33 years since the last prime ministerial visit in 1981. His visit signaled the renewal of an old relationship and charted a new course in bilateral ties. Famous for its white sand beaches and pristine natural environment, Fiji is the heart of the South Pacific, which is blessed with 333 tropical islands. At Albert Park, close to the Fiji Prime Minister's office and Parliament, Prime Minister Modi was accorded a traditional welcome by Fijian Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama. Such a warm reception was earlier accorded to top global personalities such as Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles. In Suva, Prime Minister Modi took a major initiative in calling the Pacific Islands Leaders Summit in Fiji on November 19. He interacted for the first time with the leaders of small South Pacific island countries that dot the ocean to the east of Australia. Given the overwhelming response, he proposed that a forum for Indo-Pacific Islands cooperation be held on a regular basis. He proposed to hold the next meeting in one of the coastal locations in India. At the Forum for Indo-Pacific Islands Cooperation, Prime Minister Modi announced a number of measures to strengthen this partnership. In keeping with the success achieved in the Pan-Africa project, he proposed to develop Pan-Pacific Islands project for telemedicine and tele-education. In a major move, Prime Minister Modi announced visa on arrival for nationals of all Pacific Island countries, including Fiji. This move would facilitate exchanges and promote better understanding between the people of India and the Pacific Island countries. Prime Minister Modi announced increasing the grant in aid to each of the Pacific Island countries to $200,000 annually for community projects. He also announced special adaptation fund of $1 million for Pacific Islands that will provide technical assistance and training for capacity building to the Pacific Island partners. The 10-pronged approach to cooperation with the Pacific Islands outlined by Prime Minister Modi aims to strengthen the geostrategic base in the region, which is rich in resources and lies at the center of a growing maritime route. The meeting helped in developing new initiatives and a roadmap for the joint efforts. Prime Minister Modi became the first international leader to address Fiji Parliament. He invoked the traditional Fijian greeting of Nissan Bula and Namaste.
Nishan Bula and Namaste.
The Prime Minister announced the grant of $5 million to strengthen and modernize Fiji's village, small and medium industries. He extended a line of credit of $70 million for a cogeneration power plant. Another line of credit of $5 million was announced for upgrading the sugar industry in Fiji. As agriculture supports a majority of the population in Fiji, like in India, he offered Indian expertise and assistance in increasing productivity in the agriculture sector. Prime Minister Modi offered to build Digital Fiji and to equip Fijian youth to integrate Fiji into the global IT network. He announced doubling scholarships for Fijian students. The Prime Minister acknowledged Fijian help to Indian scientists for tracking Mangalyaan, the Mars mission. It was the only mission in the world to succeed in the first attempt.
In both nations, we have vested our power in our people. Your constitution begins with, "We the people of Fiji." Indian constitution begins with the same simple words, "We the people of India."
India and Fiji have much in common. Like Prime Minister Modi, who won the Lok Sabha elections in May with thumping majority, Fiji's former military leader Frank Bainimarama was also sworn in as Prime Minister of the Pacific nation in September this year, after an emphatic electoral victory. It marked the transition from military rule to a democratically elected government. With the recent elections in Fiji, this was an opportunity to deal with Fiji as a democratic nation. India supported the election process by providing indelible ink and training, besides participating in the multilateral observer group as co-chair with Australia and Indonesia. India's linkages with Fiji are 135 years old, dating back to 1879, when Indian labour was brought under the indenture system to work on sugarcane plantations. By early 20th century, Indian traders and others had also started arriving in Fiji. Fiji has two main ethnic communities. The indigenous Fijians constitute 56% of the population, while the ethnic Indians constitute 37%, whose ancestors were brought to work in plantations over a century ago. Prime Minister Modi's visit provided an opportunity to re-establish contacts with the new government in Fiji, express solidarity with the Indian Fijian community, expand on development cooperation program, and reach out to the Pacific Island countries. Drawing strength from the ties of history and bonds of emotions, Prime Minister Modi gave a new impetus to the bilateral relations with Fiji and the partnership with the Pacific Island countries. He is determined to take India's relationship with Fiji and the Pacific Island countries to a new level where both stand to gain from one another.